Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast. It's a pleasure and a privilege to have you from every part of the world which you come from. We want to discuss a few things about wealth creation, and today I'll be giving you 5 principles of wealth. Many a times we have many difficulties, we have a lot of challenges as far as stabilizing financially is concerned. And that's why it is important for us to understand the principles that govern wealth, the different criteria that you need to maintain certain height and certain standards as far as wealth is concerned. Let me tell you a few things which you need to understand. As far as wealth is concerned, it does not necessarily deal with money or cash per se. Now, wealth here talks about the assets, the valuable assets. So it could be material, yes, it could be cash inclusive, but the valuable assets which you have, that is what we talk about as far as wealth is concerned. So it is a combination. It is a combination. It contains both the physical cash you have, the valuable assets you have. It could be material assets, it could be mental assets, it could be physical, whatever name you can attribute to it. That gives you a totality of what wealth looks like. And so you need to understand that having money is not all that it takes. It's important to have money, but that is not all that it takes. Financial stability deals with assets, it deals with opportunities, it deals with abilities. So it takes into consideration your opportunities, it takes into consideration your abilities, it takes into consideration your standards of comfort without having to go through stress. That is what wealth is all about. That is what wealth inclusively can actually look like. So the 5 major principles I'll give you for today, there are many principles, but in the subsequent broadcast, I'll give you other principles. So for today, I'm giving you just 5. Now, the 5 major principles you need to understand as far as wealth creation is concerned. The first thing first is value. The second is savings and financial discipline. The third, you have investment and asset building. You have the fourth, multiple sources of income. And you have the last one, long-term thinking. So these are the 5 major points I'm going to be breaking down in the course of this cast. Value creation, saving and financial discipline, investments and asset building, multiple sources of income, long-term thinking, and patience. So in the course of this, I would like you to help us share the link to as many as possible. Double tap on your screen so that you can like the video. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please just go ahead and subscribe so that we can grow as far as we look forward to creating better opportunities. Now, let's begin with the first, which is value creation. Now, wealth begins with creating value for others. As far as wealth is concerned, it begins with creating value for others. Now, money flows to individuals who solve problems. You are paid for solving a problem. So, meaning if you cannot solve a problem, you cannot attract value and you cannot attract money. You cannot attract wealth. So money flows to problem solvers. And how do you solve a problem? By meeting up to the needs, by meeting up to the demands. It could be demands of people, it could be the demands of a society, it could be the demands of a nation. Meeting up to their needs, meeting up to their demands, that is solving the problem. So if you cannot solve a problem, wealth cannot flow to you. So the first thing we should understand is creating value. Creating value is in solving problems. You solve problems, you get paid for solving a problem. If you go to a hospital, it means you're sick. So, what is the problem that is being solved? It is your health situation that is being solved. And your health situation is being solved by a medical doctor. So, your medical doctor is solving the problem of health. So, by solving the problem of health, he gets paid. So, which means you only get paid for solving a problem. If you cannot solve a problem, you cannot receive wealth flow to you. You cannot receive finance flow to you. So always understand that in the course of solving problems, it takes, number one, a skill. You cannot solve problems without skills. It takes skills to solve a problem. It takes services. It takes products. It takes knowledge, and it takes innovation. Now, what is a skill? A skill is a trained talent. All right. Now, everyone is born with a talent. But when that talent becomes trained, it becomes a skill. Yes. I used to take an example. I said, as a footballer, there are people that are naturally talented to play football. What gives them the opportunity to shine in the bright light of football is not the talent, it is the skill. Meaning you have to train the skill. That's why you have football schools. What is there for? To train those that have the talent in the football. You now become skilled when the talent has been trained. So everyone needs to have a skill. A skill is a trained talent. Now you should equally have in your mind that skills are acquired. Skills can be acquired, meaning even if you don't have the talent, there's a possibility for you to be taught a skill. Skills can be acquired. That's why it is being taught. So you can be trained, you can be drilled, you can be illustrated upon, and you gain a skill. So a skill is what attracts value creation as a step to bringing wealth flow to you. The next thing is a service. If you cannot offer a service, it becomes difficult to get a reward. Now, what a banker does in a bank is services. They offer banking services. Now, for those who understand economics to an extent, you're told that you have different stages of production. You have primary, you have secondary, you have tertiary, and you have the quaternary sector. And with the tertiary sector, it deals with the offering of services, banking, teaching, transportation, all those are services that are being rendered. If you cannot render a service, you cannot attract finance. So your finances are attracted by rendering a service. It is in rendering services that you create value. It is in rendering services that you attract a particular level around you. And then it comes in products. Product here is what you can create. What you can create with your hands, that's a product. Can you come up with an art? Maybe you can create a phone per se. It's a product. You can create a bathing soap per se. It's a product. Now, where we have a problem, especially in the part of the world which is described as the less economically developed part of the world, they have a problem with creation of products. And how do they have a problem with creation of products? The thing that some products are too low for them to. You see yourself to be extremely high, and it becomes impossible for you to create a particular kind of product. One thing you should understand is that for those that are genuinely into wealth creation, they don't minimize little beginnings. You don't see yourself to be too big to start small. No, you don't minimize little beginnings. You cannot tell me that you cannot bring yourself so low to doing this or to doing that just to make an income. Mm-mm. That's already a path to failure. That's already a path to failure. Now we have innovation. With innovation here, you are just improving upon what has already been existing. You are improving on what is already existing. Now, in entrepreneurship, we call some categories of entrepreneurs innovators. Innovators means they copy what is there, they copy what is already existing, and they just add a little touch to it. In the last broadcast, we spoke about innovation as one of the ways to attaining excellence in your art. And it was detailedly explained. Innovation, you are copying what is already existing, but you add a touch of what has not been used. You add a touch of what others have not seen before. And when you add that touch, it makes a complete difference in what you have. That gives you a certain level of attracting wealth to yourself. So let's assume that you want to get into the teaching field. There are many teachers already in that field. You are not going to be the first. Never forget that there is nothing you will do in the present day world that you will be the first. No, others have been doing it before you. What makes the difference between what you're doing now and what others have been doing before is the excellence that has been attributed to it, the innovative ideas that are being added onto it. That's what makes the difference. So always ensure that you make a difference. So if you're a teacher, for example, and you want to stand out and attract more value to yourself in that teaching field, you must think of what you will do that others are not yet doing, that will attract the clients towards you, that will attract more people towards you, not towards others. So maybe others just teach and end in the classroom. Okay, you improvise maybe a system of online learning that might not be existing in that particular milieu. I'm using it for example. I'm not aware there are many institutions that are using the online system. So I'm using, for example, imagine that you're in an institution that doesn't have it. You institute it, it will make a difference. Or you are in an institution that has it already, but the efficiency to which it is done, you change the efficiency. You introduce something new. That is the power of innovation. And once innovation is done, the next thing is that attention will be drawn towards you, and that will be value that has been created. So the first thing first is creating value. Creating value. And once value has been created, you can attract wealth. You can attract finance. Have this in mind. Employers pay salaries because employees contribute value to their organizations. If you don't contribute, if you have no value to the organization which you work with, of course, there is no need for your employer to pay you. You're paid because you're contributing value. And that is why at the end of each working session, your employer will sit down and check which workers to terminate their contract, which workers continue, which ones need to go in for more training, which ones need promotion. That's because they are checking the value which you bring into the organization. If you are of no value, there's no need paying you. There's no need giving you a wage or a salary. So you must create value. A teacher creates value by educating students. A doctor creates value by treating patients. A farmer creates value by producing food. A software developer creates value by building digital solutions. So in every sphere of life, in every field, value. 2, 3, you must solve real problems. To build wealth using value, you must improve your skill. You must become excellent at what you do. You must solve real problems for people. Solve real problem. Wealth is a reward for value creation. Now, number 2 principle for wealth. The second principle for wealth is saving and financial discipline. Now, this is where a lot of people face challenges. Savings and financial discipline. And for savings, I will try to be very practical so that we see the realities that come out of it. It is not just all about spending. Spending does not make you wealthy. That's one thing you should understand. And when we talk about saving here, you should have it in your mind that savings is not what brings the wealth. It is the purpose behind the savings, okay, that brings the wealth. Because you can be saving a minimal amount, a very little amount, maybe on the month, and at the end, you do nothing with what you have saved. You have not created wealth. You have not created anything. Now, let's look at it from this way. Wealth cannot grow if everything you earned is spent. So let's assume that you work with, let's use the currency of the CFA. You have 100,000 francs at the end of each month, and your expenditure is 100,000 francs every month. You are not creating any value for yourself. You are not creating any wealth for yourself. You are simply spending the totality of the income you have. And when you spend the totality of the income you have, you are living like one who has never had anything, because there will be nothing for you to fall back on. Virtually nothing for you to fall back on. So for you to have something to rely on for a start, savings is very important. Now, savings means setting aside a portion of income for future use rather than spending it immediately. Setting aside a portion of income for future use. So you are not setting aside the totality of income. You're setting aside a portion of the income for future use. A portion, part of the income. Now, many people earn very high income, but at the end they remain poor because they spend all the money. I've had the opportunity to meet certain categories of people who used to earn huge sums of money, but the day their employment contract got terminated, they went broke after earning the huge amounts they were earning. Why? Because they spent the totality of everything that was earned. Nothing was saved. And when nothing is saved, you have nothing to fall back on. Savings guarantees the future. Savings guarantees the future. Okay, now let's look at something, a common financial rule. Okay, like I said, I'm going to try to be practical. So let me give you a basic financial rule which you can apply as far as savings is concerned. Now, I'm giving you the rule of 50, 30, 20. Okay, 50, 30, 20. Now, when you receive an income, 50% should go for your needs. All right, your basic needs. 50% for your basic needs, like food, like shelter, any bills which you can pay. Try to put it into 50% of your income. Now, 30% goes for your wants. Okay, now this is something I'll let you understand. There's a difference between your needs and your wants. Many people are confused, and by virtue of the fact that they are confused, it becomes a problem. There's a difference between your needs and your wants. Okay, your needs are those necessities you cannot do without. The necessities you cannot do without, those are your needs. Your wants are the ones you can do without, but you want them. All right, you can do without them, but out of satisfaction, you want to get them. So those are your wants. So 50% goes for your needs, 30% for your wants, 20% for savings and investments. So that's the 50-30-20 rule. I'll need that we experiment that and tell me what value it will create for you in the next 5 months. And let's see how far you will go. Now, what you should understand is that from the beginning, it might look difficult. It might look difficult, but it takes discipline for you to be able to maintain that structure. It takes discipline to maintain that structure. The 50-30-20. 50% of your income goes for your needs, 30% for your wants, 20% for your savings. Now, somebody can tell me, or like somebody is asking now, what if 50% is not sufficient enough to solve the problems I have, my basic needs and basic necessities? That's where I will tell you that you're trying to live a life that is not your own. Never live above what you earn. Never live above what you earn. Structure your life surrounding what you earn. Don't live above it. I understand there are some unforeseen circumstances that can arise, and it will push you to spend beyond planned. Those are unforeseen circumstances. It comes once in a while. But if it is a daily routine that you spend the totality of what you earn, then that is a financial deficiency of knowledge. Okay, that's a financial deficiency, and it becomes a very big problem for you in the nearest future. So, this rule, okay, does this rule apply to any amount you earn? All right, now, the rule applies to your principal income. All right, it applies to your principal income. So, check your principal income and apply the rule to it. So let's say your principal income, for example, your principal income is 100,000. Okay, it could be $100,000, 100,000 euros, 100,000. Put whatever currency depending on your nation. Thank you so much for joining the live. Put whatever currency depending on your nation. So you have 100,000 as your principal income. Now, when I say your principal income, it means there are possibilities for you to have other little sources of income, other side hustles that bring income onto you. Okay, so let's apply this on your principal income, 100,000. So we take out 50,000 for your basic necessities. 50,000 goes for your basic necessities. Now, 30,000 will go for your wants, and 20,000 you're saving it. That way, it will enable you to attain heights of financial discipline over time. It will take you a while, but you apply heights of financial discipline. Now, the reason why we say this should be on your principal income is because from the beginning, it will be difficult. So you first of all need to learn over time how to manage the needs on your principal income. And then where you have a shortage, your little side hustles can back you up. That's for those who have the little side hustles, it can back you up. But now in a case where you don't have the little side hustle, that is where, okay, we can now try to modify the percentage that goes for your needs. Now listen and listen well. When modifying the percentage that goes for your needs, what should be touched is your wants, not your savings. What should be touched is your wants. You can touch a percentage, you can strike a percentage of your wants, and send to your needs, but your savings should remain intact. I said from the beginning, your wants are those desires that you can do without. You will not die if you don't have them. It's just like somebody earning 50,000, let me use 50,000 francs safer, and you tell me that you want a car. And then what kind of car? You want a Lexus Jeep. It's true. That's your want. It's not your need. You can do without it. So we wave it aside. That's a want. That's not a need. You can do without it. Your basic necessities, you have food, you have shelter, you have clothing, medical bills. Those are basic things which you should always have in mind that you cannot do without them. Good. Now, why is savings very important? Why is saving very important? The first thing you should know is that saving helps you to build emergency fund. Savings helps you to build an emergency fund. You never can tell being a master of tomorrow. No, you never can tell. There are possibilities of having an emergency tomorrow where it will become very difficult for you to have access to what you are earning. Okay, let's assume that you are a salary earner and you are going to be paid at the end of the month, but you fall sick in the middle of the month and you cannot have access to your salary. What do you fall back on? You fall back on your savings. That comes in as a help for you now in terms of emergency. So saving helps you to build an emergency fund. Yes, it helps you to build an emergency fund. The second thing, saving helps you to avoid unnecessary debts. It helps you to avoid unnecessary debts. As far as this life is concerned, we will always have opportunities to get into debts that are useless. The opportunities will always be there. But what will come in for you? Your savings will come in for you. So let's assume now that the case of an emergency comes in the middle of the month, when you are waiting to receive a salary at the end of the month and there is nothing for you to fall back on. What happens? You will get into an unnecessary debt because you will now need to borrow to solve the problem of now in order to collect a salary at the end of the month and repay. This is what you should understand about borrowing. When you borrow, you are spending future resources today. So when the future comes, there'll be nothing for you to spend. When you borrow, you are spending future resources today. And when that future now comes, there'll be nothing for you to spend. So the only thing that can save you as far as borrowing is concerned is when you are borrowing for investments, but that's a risk. That's a risk. And for that to be done, you need to understand the risk involved. You need to go through a schooling of what you want to invest in. You understand the risks involved. That way, you can now understand what it takes for you to be able to take a loan or whatever. But now we are talking about unnecessary borrowing here. Okay, we're talking about unnecessary borrowing. We're talking about borrowing as a result of negligence, borrowing as a result of failure to save. That is an unnecessary debt. You are spending tomorrow today. And that's why we have a category of people who live perpetually on debt. They just collect the salary at the end of the month. And what do? They pay for the debt they have been accumulating for the month. And then they start borrowing again. Till the end of the month, they collect the salary, they settle. So we enter January, they start borrowing in January. Till the end of January, they collect salary, they settle the bills of January, they start borrowing in February, and they are going ahead. When February ends, they collect the salary, they settle the bill for February, they start borrowing in March. That is a very useless life because you have no savings, you will never have an investment, and only God knows what the future will hold for you. So let's avoid that part. Unnecessary borrowing. That's something you should avoid. Practically avoid it. Practically avoid it. Good. So borrowing is off the limit for everyone that needs to grow. So the third thing that saving helps you to do is to invest in opportunities. Now, you don't know when the opportunities will come, so you should be prepared. The worst thing that can happen to a man is to meet an opportunity unprepared. Oh, that's the worst thing that can happen to a man. When the opportunity shows up, but you are not prepared. Whenever an opportunity meets preparedness, positive results come out, exploits come out. But when an opportunity meets a man that is not prepared, disaster will come forth. So, savings helps you to invest in opportunities. So, if you have been saving, and then an opportunity comes up for an investment, there will be no need for you to take a loan. You just fall back on your savings and you're gone. Don't forget, a loan is a liability to you. Meaning, if anything happens to that loan and you cannot recover or make profit, trouble day. But if you use your savings in a business and the business collapses, you are not under pressure. You're not under pressure. You will feel the weight of losing money, but you will not be under pressure. And then, if you use your savings to invest and profit come in, that's a double blessing to you. Because if you use a loan, it means you first of all have to deduct the loan and you're paying interest on that loan, send it back to wherever you got it from. You already lose part of your profit to pay interest. But if it is something which you already saved and you use, you're not borrowing from anybody, you're not paying interest to anybody. Everything comes back to you as a double blessing. So never meet an opportunity unprepared. Always be prepared, because opportunities will definitely show up. So saving helps you to invest in opportunities. And the next thing that saving helps you to do is to achieve financial independence. Savings helps you to achieve financial independence. It makes it easier for you to gain financial independence when you save. It becomes easier to gain financial independence. Now, let's practicalize this aspect of saving. So your income is 100,000 per month, all right? So like I said, you can put any currency of your choice: $100,000, 100,000 euros, 100,000 pounds, 100,000 francs CFA, whatever, 100,000 naira. Just put any currency of your choice. So your income is 100,000 per month. So the first thing first, we are saving 20%, right? So 20% of 100,000 is 20,000. So on a monthly base, we are saving 20,000. And let's do an annual calculation, okay? That will be 20,000 monthly. And annually, what you'll be saving is 240,000. So which means at the end of a year, you should have 240,000 as a saving. Now, you should understand something. This is a basic principle, 50, 30, 20. But it doesn't mean that you cannot increase the ratio which you're saving, all right? If the 50% of your salary can settle your basic needs and you still have a leftover, then increase the ratio of your saving. Don't say because the financial expert said we should save only 20%, it means you are saving only 20%. No, that will be childish and foolish. If you analyze your income and you see that that 50% allocated for your needs can settle everything and you still have a leftover that can carry you, then increase the ratio which you save, increase the percentage which you save. That's just knowledge being personified now. So over time, or over an annual period, you save 240,000. So in other words, indirectly, you have a capital of 240,000. You have a capital of 240,000. So get this about savings. Wealth is built not only by earning more, but by keeping more of what you earn. Let me say that again. Wealth is built not only by earning more, but by keeping more of what you earn. So you don't build wealth because the size of your salary increased. No, you build wealth equally because you have increased the size of the savings inside that salary. Now let's look at the third principle. Let's look at the third principle. If you are with me at this level, let me see in the comment section. If you're with me at this level, just indicate it. Let me see it in the comment section. Now, the third aspect of the principles of wealth, the third aspect which we need to have, is investment and asset building. Investment and asset building. That's the next thing you should have in mind. After you have created value, after you have been able to save, the next thing is investment. Learn to invest. Learn to invest. As I'm going on, in case you have any questions on what has already been said, just drop it in the comment section and I'll be giving you a reply as I'm going ahead. Learn to invest and build assets. Learn to invest and build assets. Now, saving alone cannot create significant wealth. Okay, that's why I said saving is a step to wealth building. Saving alone cannot build or create significant wealth. So money must be invested. Now, this is what you should understand. When you save, it increases. But when you invest, it multiplies. Have that in mind. When you save, your wealth increases. But when you invest, your wealth multiplies. Yes, when you save, your wealth increases. When you invest, your wealth multiplies. Have that in your mind. Now, investment here means putting money into assets that generate income or increase value. Putting money into assets that generate income or increase value. Now, assets are categorized, okay, in different types. But then what is an asset? An asset is anything that brings income into your pocket. Yes. Anything, I want to put it in a layman language. Anything that brings money into your pocket, that's an asset. Okay. So assets now are in different categories. We have fixed assets. Fixed assets are like a building, for example. So let's say maybe you have a hotel. That building is a fixed asset. All right. Fixed assets are those assets that suffer from depreciation. They undergo wear and tear. For those that have a mastery of economics, that's a fixed asset. It suffers depreciation. So you can have a fixed asset. You can have a variable asset. All right. So the assets are in categories. They're in categories. So ensure that you invest in an asset. Welcome, Samuel. Ensure that you invest in an asset. So when you fit your investment into an asset, like I said, when you invest, your wealth multiplies. When you save, your wealth increases. So learn to invest for the wealth to multiply. Despite savings, for the wealth to increase, learn to invest for it to multiply. Now, if there is an asset, it means there is a liability. You know, there's a common saying that don't become a liability in the life of anyone. Meaning your work is just to collect, and you don't give anything in return. That's the same thing with wealth, all right? You can have a liability mindset. Who is the individual that has a liability mindset? The one who says, all I need is work, get paid, meet my needs, it ends there. That's a liability mindset. But to have the mindset of an asset, you need to learn the possibilities of investment. You must learn the possibilities of investment. Now, an asset generates income. A liability takes away the income. Every asset generates income, but liabilities take away the income. Assets increase wealth, liabilities reduce wealth. So we must always strike a balance between the two, because no matter what you do, you will come across scenarios where you have a lot of liabilities around you. You have a lot of opportunities to have a waste of investments, which becomes a liability. Anything you lose is a liability because it is detrimental to your growth. Detrimental to your growth. So you should understand here that when you invest in an asset, your wealth multiplies and you gain more. You gain more stability, you gain more growth, you gain more focus. That's it. So, for example, let's be practical. A rental house is an asset. You know, like you construct a guest house, that's an asset. It brings you income. But are you aware that owning a car is a liability? Yes, 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 yes. Now, those are some realities that you don't understand. Having a car for private use is a liability. But the difference there is that there are some liabilities that are a necessity, depending on the kind of job you do. There are professions you get into, and the easiest way for you to economize transportation, spending on transportation, is by buying a car, right? Now, buying a car is a liability because you will spend on maintenance, you will spend on fuel, you will keep spending and spending. But in this case, it is an asset to you. Why? Because it is helping you cut down transport costs. All right? It helps you save time. But on a general principle, a private car is a liability because it's not bringing you income, it's expenditure. But then, used in the right sense, it becomes an asset. When used in the right sense, it becomes an asset. Okay, now, so let's assume that you have a job which you do, and you need to be at work at 6 a.m. By virtue of where you live, by virtue of the area where you live, it's very difficult for you to have a bus or an Uber that can take you to work at 6 a.m. So most often you go to work late. And then when you close from work, the time for you to wait at the bus stop to get a bus, to head home, looking at the time to rest, to catch up with other activities, you will see in this case now that a car is a necessity. Or you realize that the cost of transportation in a month, you spend maybe up to 50,000, for example. But if you had a car, you will spend maybe 30,000. That means there's a balance of 20,000. In that case, that car serves as an asset to you. But you cannot be spending on transportation and you compare to having a private means of transport, and you see that it's at the private means of transport, you're spending more than when you are spending on public transport. That's a liability already. You have just increased the liabilities in your life. Yes, exactly. You have just increased the liabilities in your life. So taking the worst of all is people who take a car on loan. Yay. Let's not go there. So have this note about investments in assets. The rich invest their money, but the poor spend their money. Yes, have that in mind. The rich invest their money, but the poor spend their money. So one of the characteristics of a rich man is investment. And one of the characteristics of a poor man, high spending. Yes. Everybody that has the mindset of becoming rich must understand that we spend less and invest more. We spend less and invest more. That's the mindset of a rich man. Now, let's move over to the fourth criteria or the fourth principle of wealth. You should have multiple sources of income. Multiple sources of income is very essential. Now, one of the most important wealth principle is not depending on a single income source. Yes, you should not depend on a single income source. What if it fails? What if it fails? Well, I've seen scenarios where people work. I'll still take examples, especially in the less economically developed world, like Africa, Asia, the less economically developed world, at least Asia is trying. Let me be typical about Africa. You work, and at the end of the month, your employer tells you, we had a financial difficulty and we cannot meet up with payments on the usual date. What happens now? Automatically, there's a stagnation that has been put on you to wait until that payment date. But what if you had other sources of income? So you would see that you will not feel the weight that much because there are other sources of income that will back it up. So it is very important to have a multiple source of income. It's very important. Many financially successful people have multiple streams of income. Okay? Multiple streams of income. Now, let's look at why it is important. Why it is important to have a multiple source of income. The first thing you should notice is that when you depend on one salary, it is risky. Okay? Depending on one salary, or that is a single source of income, it is risky. Number one, your job can be lost. If you lose your job, your contract gets terminated. What happens? You fall back on nothing. It means you are reduced to zero. And you start searching and searching and searching and searching and searching till the day you get another job. That becomes a problem for you. That becomes a problem. The next thing is business can fail. That's a reason as to not to have just a single source of income. Your business can fail. So let's imagine that you're into motor parts. Okay, you deal with motor parts and something happens and you are unable to meet up with your target sales at a particular quarter of the year. You will not be able to live well. Why? Because that's the only source of income and you did not meet up with your sales. If something goes wrong with the business, your life has ended. So you should learn to have multiple sources of income. And the next thing is that economic crises can occur. Yes, in the course of life, economic crisis can occur. You alone cannot control the economy. That's one thing you should have in your mind. You alone cannot control the economy. Every economy has its booms and slumps, the period where everything is vibing and the period where things slap down. So in the time where things slap down, there's an economic crisis. You may have a difficulty because you have a single source of income. So it is very important to have a multiple source of income. So let's be practical. Okay, let's be practical. So multiple sources of income. Let's be practical now. Let's use a teacher, for example. A teacher can earn from teaching. You teach, you're paid a salary at the end of every month, normally. That's your main source of income. Now, you can do private classes, right? You create your opportunities to give out private lessons. That's another source of income already added to your main source of income. As a teacher, you can write books. Of course, every time you get to class, you the network is really giving us a hell of a headache. So we're using the example of a teacher. So as a teacher, we said you could earn main salary, you could offer private lessons, write books, you document your knowledge. You could do online courses, you know, when you're done, you organize online courses. You can even teaching gives you a lot of space. So depending on your vocation, depending on your profession, depending on your choice of career, you can easily fall on different side hustles. So the key lesson I have here about a side hustle is that do not rely on a single source of income. And the last, which is the most important principle of wealth, long-term thinking and patience. Long-term thinking and patience. Now, wealth creation takes time. You don't create wealth overnight. It takes time, it takes discipline, it takes patience. Yes, wealth creation takes time, takes discipline, it takes patience. Now, most people fail financially because they want quick money. Okay, instead of sustainable wealth, they want something fast, 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 fast. That's why you find a lot of youth getting into scamming, into stealing, and all other stuff. Why? Because they're trying to get fast, 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 fast income. They want to get something with immediate effect. No, sustainable wealth takes time. Like they say, nothing good comes easy. It takes time. Now, when we say it takes time, it's not like it should take you 12 years to build wealth. No, you're not an ancestor. It takes time. It means it takes a little bit of time. To some, it can take 2 months, it can take 3 months. That depends on your source of income. Okay, it depends on how much you are able to save based on the percentage you get 50, 30, 20. Depends on how much you're able to save and how fast you can do an investment. Okay, now you'll see that if you carry on an investment with a little capital, of course, your income or your profit will be small as well. You reinvest, it increases. You reinvest, it increases. So the time taken is the time of reinvestment. Okay, that's what we mean by it takes time. I think we will do a video and give you possible investment strategies for quick wealth. Possible investment strategies. We'll do that as time goes on. Now, these are some of the common mistakes many people make when it comes to long-term thinking and patience. One of them is chasing quick. You chase quick money schemes, and that's why many fall into all this online Ponzi stuff. They tell you, okay, invest 5,000 today, you will get 10,000 tomorrow. So somebody kept money somewhere just waiting for you to bring your 5,000 so that they'll double it and give it back to you. Is that so? It's not even like you're selling stocks. You're not buying any stocks online. At least that's one of the legit stuff that we say, yes, you can invest now in less than 10 minutes. You have tremendous increase. Same way as in less than 10 minutes, you can have a tremendous heartbreak, liver break, kidney failure when you have lost everything. You know, the higher the possibilities of the income, the higher the risk. Yes, the higher the risk. It's just like we tell you, okay, let's get into the stocks market. You're buying stocks and selling stocks. After buying stocks worth 100,000 in less than 3 minutes, you just hear that stocks have fallen. Heart attack. Same way as you can buy the stocks for 100,000 and in less than 2 minutes, they tell you that the value has skyrocketed. You sell. Exactly. So the higher the possibilities of profit, the higher the risk involved. So many people chase quick money schemes. That's an error. Some spend instead of investing. That's an error. Some have a lack of financial planning. You don't plan your finance. You don't plan it. An error. Some fear starting small. They just want to start big. Even Jesus Christ started small. That's why he was born and he grew as a child before he start small. Don't be afraid to start small. Little beginnings matters. Start small. So this is what you should have in your mind concerning the long-term financial planning or long-term thinking for investments and for wealth creation. This is what you should have in mind. Number one, consistency. Okay, consistency is very important. Be consistent over time. What you do, consistency means doing it over and over and over and over. I think we have a video on our channel, the importance of consistency. You can watch that over time and get more details. Because of time, I cannot talk detailedly on that. So consistency is very important. Delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. Don't be too quick to pronounce that you have arrived. Calm down. Don't be too quick to show everybody that you have arrived. Calm down. Don't let pride get in the way and take back everything. You have continuous learning. That's one of the strategies for long-term mindset. Continuous learning. Ensure that you keep learning. You keep learning. You keep learning. Have a strategic plan. Do strategic planning. If you cannot draw a plan for yourself, but if you have the idea, meet an expert to draw the plans for you. Yes, if you cannot draw the plans by yourself, but you have the ideas, meet those that have the knowledge, the expertise, and they draw a plan for you to follow. So it's very important to have a plan. So the key lesson you should learn here on that long-term thinking is that wealth grows slowly but steadily through patience and discipline. Wealth grows slowly but steadily through what? Patience and discipline. So you apply patience, you apply discipline, grow. So these are the 5 basic principles of wealth creation. Number 1, create value. Number 2, savings and financial discipline. Number 3, investments and asset building. Number 4, multiple sources of income. And number 5, long-term thinking and patience. Apply these 5 principles and let's see what becomes of your life in 6 months. Apply these principles. Let's see what becomes of your life in 6 months. Now, have this in mind as I let you go. Wealth is not reserved for some lucky individuals. No, it is the result of disciplined habits, wise decisions, and consistent application of timeless financial principles. Wealth is not reserved for some lucky individuals. Of course not. It is the result of disciplined habits, wise decisions, and consistent application of timeless financial principles. Thank you so much for being a part of the life. We'll see you same time next week. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you're free to watch the videos that have so much of edifying content that will enable you to grow professionally, enable you to make your mindset better. See you same time next week.